One of the things I want to make sure we address, and I think we tend to mull over it, nobody wants to increase taxes, for one. But the problem has been so systemic for a number of years that it's so hard to correct. Number one, if the formula of funding does not change, then the per pupil spending does not change. So Oklahoma continues to be ranked 49th in per pupil spending. So that's a category within itself. The second thing we have to look at is you're looking at a penny sales tax that would bring maybe $6.15 million. You're looking at $615 million. But the goal is to give each teacher in Oklahoma a $5,000 pay raise. So when you start talking about money going to the classroom, it still doesn't equate to teachers getting their pay raises. That's a separate ball game. The third thing that frustrates me is that we have almost 600 school districts in Oklahoma. And when you look at local control, when you look at local government, you look at the boards of education and how many superintendents we pay. And we pay them generally $100,000. Now, it can go up to $200,000 as well, depending on where you are. But the population of their district is less than 300. So when you have less than 300 students, but you as a superintendent can still get paid $180,000 while your teachers' salaries are capped at $25,000, I think there's a disparity there. And if we mentioned Texas earlier. Well, Oklahoma has 77 counties. In the state of Texas, they have one superintendent for each county. So Oklahoma has not looked at that. But I don't think Oklahoma's willing to merge. I think the superintendents and the boards of education who govern local control as to how our funding gets done for public schools, the legislature can vote to increase that 69%. As a matter of fact, when my colleagues tell me, Anastasia, we are supporting education. You're getting 60% of the budget. We can't do any more. But it doesn't guarantee that it goes to the classroom. Look at priorities in education. We can pass a budget that says we want 65% to go to education. But if we don't line item those things to say this much is going to go to administration, this much is going to go to after school programs, this much is going to go to classrooms, then we still miss the mark. We still pour money into a dark hole. And that's where school choice comes in. I support public education, but I also want to empower parents to be able to be mobile to get their students the proper education that they need, whether they're a special needs student or whether they have some at-risk factors that set them back. Whatever it is, I look at the Northeast Oklahoma City, which I govern Oklahoma County. I have 6 municipalities in my district. But when I look at the disparity of funding that comes to those schools, I have schools in my district that don't have teachers in the classroom all semester long. I have textbooks that have not been updated for 10 years. And so are we saying to those children, are you worthy? And is it equality that we're looking for, or is it equity? Because on certain parts of the state, you may need $12 per pupil increase to get them to the level that they need. And then other parts of the state, you need $22 to get them where they need. So it's frustrating as an educator, and that's one of the reasons why I came out of the classroom and ran for office.
Will you go back to the classroom when your term limited?
It's been a consideration. I want to go back to school first. There are a lot of things that have changed. A lot of our educators are under so much pressure. They've been teaching to the test. There are mandated tests. And we don't have reading coaches. Sometimes we have teachers that can't teach reading. And before I go back into the classroom, I'd like to see Smart Start expand. We only have them in 13 counties in Oklahoma. But Oklahoma used to be number 1 in early childhood education. Where did we lose that? And so for those who have cultural differences where they keep their children at home, that's almost a disservice, because now our children with ethnic backgrounds don't come to the classroom with the same level of words in their vocabulary. And yes, they may have been nurtured and loved, but they're at a deficit when they come to kindergarten. What are our kindergarten requirements, and first through second grade, you can't just measure them in third grade and say you've missed the mark in reading. So we've got to do a better job. So I would like to go back and get educated myself so that we're not just changing policy, but we're advocating for great things to happen in education.